Hi, welcome to Being and Creating, the visual podcast on being with what is while creating what you really want. I'm Kim Forman, and with me is Lisa Wilson. Today, we are going to talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are wildly supportive of you. So important.
Yes, it is. It's so nice to be having this conversation because it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. And oh my goodness, how we sink into those who surround us and become those people.
That's so true. And I often forget because I do have so many people around me that are just super enthusiastic about whatever I'm getting into, that I forget sometimes that not everybody has that. And I would love to do whatever I can do to help foster that for as many people as possible.
Right, exactly.
So before we get into how to do that, let's get into the opposite. This is the crux of it. A friend of mine recently made a post, something along the lines of that women were so catty and like constantly tearing you apart, and it was just hard to find friends who just supported you. I mean, that was pretty much it. Yeah. And then someone else replied, "That is so true. And let me tell you, it only gets worse as you get older." And that broke my heart. It broke my heart.
You would think that we would grow wiser as we grow older and come together, right. But I found exactly the opposite. Like that person commented that the older that we get, it seems the more judgmental we become. And how sad is that? I just saw something funny enough on Facebook today, a little video about that, about mom judgment. And you know, how easy it is to judge whichever path somebody is taking. And then we absorb that into ourselves and constantly feel judged ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to start out with two analogies that represent the kind of negativity that we're seeking to stay away from. Mm. And the first one is the crab bucket. So if you've ever seen a bucket of crabs and have noticed that one of them is trying to escape the bucket, what happens is that all the other crabs in the bucket will reach up and pull the other one down to the point where they will stand on top of one another, sort of creating a ladder for one another so that they can pull this crab back down in with them. Because if I'm stuck in this, you're stuck in this too. And this is the way with so many people who we call our friends. Mm. And let me just say right here that if someone treats you like that, if you are excited about something, whether it's a new job or losing weight or moving or whatever it is, and the person that you think is your great friend is not supportive of it, they are not actually a friend. Mm-hmm. Not actually. They're just someone that you hang out with.
That's so, there's so many thoughts that come from that, and I'm trying to stay focused and stay in the moment. But the idea of what it means to truly be a friend and truly be supportive of somebody. And we can move into this a little bit more once we get to talking about what we can do. But when we think about our own struggles and being stuck in that bucket and being one of those little crabs down there, if we see somebody else trying to get up, instead of trying to say, hey, no, I feel like crap and I want you to feel like crap too, you know, that's not.
Well, that leads into the next analogy. But before we go to that, I just wanted to say that, of course, when someone else is miserable and you've been miserable with them this whole time, and suddenly you are no longer miserable, or you're about to be no longer miserable, it forces them to look at themselves and see that they actually have a choice to either stay in their situation that they're not happy with, or do really hard work to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that makes them super uncomfortable, and they are mad about it. You know, because it forces them to see, like, oh, this is, you know, at least partially my fault that I'm here, and that there is something that can be done about it, but I just don't want to deal with that because I'm comfortable here in my misery.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
So on to the second analogy, which is the crap bucket. So let's just say that you're standing in a bucket and you look down and you notice that the bucket is filled to the top with crap. And you don't want to be standing in it anymore because it stinks. And you are just ready to get away from it, get it away from you, whatever. So you reach down, you scoop it up with your hand, and you fling it all over everybody around you, just wildly, like you're bailing water out of a canoe. Instead of just stepping out of the bucket. And this is how so many of us deal with our discontentment, is to just make everybody else around us as discontent as we are, so that we don't have to actually look at our issues. It's so easy to do. And believe me, none of us are free of doing that from time to time. The problem comes when it's your sort of mode of operation.
Yeah.
So the takeaway from these two things is, take a look at your friends and just try to piece together whether these friends are quite either consciously or subconsciously holding you back, or if they are flinging all their crap all over you and instead of dealing with their own stuff.
Truly. And I think, one way to really look at that is look at the conversations, that you're having.
Absolutely. That's the best way.
Yeah, go.
Okay. And here's another thing. This is like a litmus test for your friendship. Does it consist to a large degree of complaining or gossiping? Is that a huge chunk of your friendship and what it's based on, your friendship? And I know, and this, for people who have friends or friendships that are like this is a really difficult thing to hear, because no matter how unhealthy the relationship might be, it is difficult, it is heart-wrenching to tear yourself away from it. But you are also giving yourself a lifeboat from a sinking ship.
Yeah. I simultaneously think that by doing that, you had talked a lot before about, self-awareness, like people taking a look at themselves, and then it's uncomfortable because you're holding up and forcing the other person to take a look. And I think that when you start to take responsibility for saying, I'm not going to gossip as much, we're all guilty of it. I'm not going to gossip as much, and I'm not going to complain as much, then you offer this space for the other person to move into.
Yes.
This invitation for them to say, okay, well, I think it feels a little bit better when I don't do that as well. So maybe this is the new relationship that we can develop together. What are we going to talk about from this point forward?
I love that. And that would be ideal. That would be fantastic if you could get to the point where that person was on board with making the changes. That would be so great.
Yes, in the happy world.
in the happy world, yeah. So I just want to like go on record as saying that choosing to separate yourself from the negative people in your life is, I don't want to minimize the pain that can create.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from experience that it is absolutely vital to your health.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And maybe they'll come along with you, and that would be awesome.
Right. In the happy world they do, but
yeah, come along with you as newly transformed as well.
There we go.
So the hard thing is that when you then go and seek new friendships, it's difficult to create a new sort of friendship when you're repeating the same patterns. And there is no quicker, easier, or more guaranteed way to make friends than to complain or to gossip. Because the minute you have anything negative to say, somebody's going to be like, oh, tell me about it, and let me tell you about this. Or if you're talking about somebody, they're just gonna fall right along with it, because it's just hard to resist. Like, even I actively try very hard to alleviate gossip in my life, and sometimes you just find yourself falling into it, and then you just have to go like, oh God, okay, I'm sorry, let's talk about something else.
Exactly. It's that little bit of self-awareness, when you catch yourself complaining about the weather, having that same old conversation. It's either too cold, too hot, too wet,
right.
too dry. Just catching yourself. Yeah.
So what do you do to actually actively seek people who are going to support you?
Oh, that's always the challenge. We talk about these issues, about this heaviness, about this life that I would say that most of us are probably immersed in. At least when I think about my real life, my life outside of my curated Facebook group, it is standard. You just complaining, talking about the things that are going bad are the conversations that we tend towards, because everybody can understand them. Everybody suffers, and that's kind of our baseline. And so that's where we feel most comfortable. I think there are two things that I have butted heads against, that I've talked with others that they have as well, that I found kind of ways around that can move us when we're looking for people that can support us in this growth. That when we start holding up the mirror to ourselves of self-awareness, and we're like, oh, this isn't the life that I wanted and I need support. One of the things that I posted about recently was that I've always been an introvert, and I think I surrounded myself with a lot of those people. But I realized that I wasn't as much of an introvert as I thought. It was just that I had been having the wrong conversations. Those were the conversations that were draining. And every time I would leave those conversations, I would feel that energy, and I thought, oh, I just need to go hibernate for like a day or a month or something. But when I started having conversations that were more creative in nature, meaning creating the environment in which we wanted to be, the scenarios that we wanted to imagine, the energy that we wanted to create in that conversation, I left the conversation feeling uplifted, feeling supported. And I think that's what you were talking about. I think of the buckets that you're in. When you're not actively participating in throwing or holding somebody back, that imagery in my head, I'm like, but when you're not actively participating in that, and when you take on that hard work yourself of trying to switch the conversation just a little bit, I think it frees up the other person to be able to support you in that role as well. And that kind of goes along with the other thing, the thing that I ran into when trying to think about finding support for whatever it is, a project, well-being, weight loss, all of this stuff, is that I have a hard time receiving. And I think that this is a common theme among a lot of women in particular, is that we have been taught to give. That's who we are, we give, and receiving is selfish, right? So I heard this wonderful thing, and I think we're both familiar with this woman, Sue Bryce, and she had talked about giving and receiving, that, you have one hand for giving and one hand for receiving. And of course, with my whole being breath thing, that I think of this giving and receiving as inhaling and exhaling. And you can't do one without the other. And so no matter how good our intentions are of wanting to give out into the world, we have to be able to receive that support from friends, acquaintances, loved ones, even, the support that we may not necessarily want, where somebody's saying, here, you can have this, you can do this. Because otherwise, we're holding it in, or trying to exhale too much and giving, and then we got to let it in. So that's part of when we're looking and thinking about this idea of finding others who can and are willing to support us. And we've done this inner work, and we've faced this stuff about looking down and standing in our own bucket, or, realizing that we're either being the ones pulling down, or that we're really trying to scramble up and everybody around us is pulling us down. I think that being able to take a look at that and saying, okay, number one, make sure that I am participating in the conversations, and I am creating the types of conversations that I want to be having, that's creating the world in which I want to live. And number two, be open to that receiving, be open to the support that's coming in. And in return, you can give even more. So those are just a few thoughts on, moving outside of the bucket once we're out of that. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to add as far as,
I'm going to try to make this quick. I have a few more. So in the meeting aspect of it, if you honestly just are kind of at a loss as to how to meet people, one of the best things that you can do when you come face to face with somebody and you're having sort of like a little chit chat that might be kind of awkward, you can just say, hey, are you working on any exciting projects right now? Or what are you really into? Because what do you do? If they don't do something that they're really excited about, that's a dead end conversation. But what are you into is an entirely different thing, and the conversation will take off, and they'll get super excited, and they'll love you for caring what it is that really lights up their soul.
Right.
You would be amazed at the deep level of connection that you can get from asking a perfect stranger what it is that they're into, or if they're doing any exciting projects.
Right.
So, right. Amazing. So then once you are just like in general, not even necessarily with this particular person that you just met, but just in general, actively encourage the people around you. Be the kind of person that you would like to have as a friend. When something great happens to somebody, or if they're having a hard time, just be supportive and encouraging, because that's what you want, right? And then when they achieve some degree of success, small or large, it doesn't matter what it is, be genuinely happy for them. Celebrate it even. Yes. And another little aside, make notes, either literally or mentally, when someone says that they're going for something difficult that they're concerned about, and just say, next time you see them or next time you talk to them, just say, hey, how'd that thing go?
That's a great idea.
I've been really amazed at the number of people who have said, wow, you really blow my mind with just the level of detail that you remember about what's going on in my life. Well, my memory is not great. Just that I care about what's going on with people and, what their struggles are. So make that a priority, and you would be amazed at the sort of friendships that develop from it.
That's amazing. Making it a priority to care and to just be genuine with your interactions. How easy that sounds and how challenging it is in practice, But I think it's like anything, the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. So the first conversation is really awkward when you're like, so what do you like to do? Instead of what do you do for your life? But each time you ask,
do you like things?
right, exactly, because I like things, and if we like things together, we can talk. I know. Oh my goodness, yes. But I do truly love those ideas. It just, when I envision that, it feels expansive and grounding. It feels like exactly what we're trying to talk about being with what is. You're in this conversation, you're present and here with it, but also consciously creating the type of support and friendships and environment that you want to be in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much. I have loved this conversation. I really hope that everybody who has had a chance to listen, and thank you so much for spending your time with both of us today. We are certainly looking forward to having more conversations like this where we can encourage everybody to continue to be really mindfully present with everything that's right here. If it's good or if it's bad, whatever, really consciously create the next moment, the next day, and the life that you want to be living. For both of us, Kim, I'm going to let you, if there is any place that people can connect with you, I'll let you share that information, and we will be sure to, under these videos, to write down our contact information. So in case you have questions or want to follow up, I'll let you share first, then I'll jump in.
All right. You can find me on my blog at underthekimfluence.com or on Facebook at Under the Kimfluence.
Beautiful. And same here, you can find me at my site at beingbreath.com. That's B-E-I-N-G, not B-E-A-N, as I have been told before. So beingbreath.com. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/beingbreath. I am on Instagram, slowly growing that one, at Lisa Renee Wilson. So you can find me there as well too. I will, like I said, leave all of the links underneath, and we really encourage conversation around this topic. If there's an idea that has stuck out to you as we have been talking, please leave us a comment below. Let us know. Tell us about it, because that's what we're trying to do here, is co-create these conversations, this world, this environment with you, and it takes more than just the two of us. So until our next one, thank you everybody so much for listening, and have a beautiful day.
Bye.